Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering creativity. I'm Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Marvin Curtis, who is the immediate past board chair of the South Bend Symphony. Marvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Good to see
It
you.
is great to see you again, and I should share with our audience, I am so appreciative to have been able to see some of the impact of your work that goes so far even beyond orchestral leadership, board leadership, but goes to, really empowering our ability to tell critical stories in our field. So thank you for everything you do. I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Before we talk about one of those projects, thought if you could kind of just share in that kind of role that you've recently stepped down from as board chair of the South Bend Symphony. A lot of times people, they look, they're like, so board members, especially board chairs, kind of what do they do? How do they approach that role? And just curious for you, how do you view that role? How did you approach that role as a board chair?
I approached it as an advocate for the community. As we know, symphony orchestras notoriously have been sort of stodgy little folks who have um, a mission that is sort of narrow-minded. South Bend is not like that, however. And I came here in 2008 as the dean of the Ernestine American School of the Arts and got involved immediately with the symphony. And we established the first Martin Luther King concerts in 2010. And so I've been working with the symphony all this time and got on the board. And I saw where we were not connected with the community. And so in my role, I began to do projects like the King concert, introducing new repertoire to the conductor, who had very little knowledge of the repertoire of African American composers. So I introduced him to Florence Price, William Grant Still, some other folks along the way. And then he retired. We have got a new conductor, and I served on that search committee. And then I was approached to be president. And I thought, this is going to be interesting because they never had an African American as president of the symphony ever. And the symphony was 91 years old. And so I said to the chair of the committee, I said, you know how I am. So don't expect anything different. And so we have expanded not only the repertoire, but the outreach of the symphony. So part of my role is to work with the executive director, the conductor, the board, in outreach. And we've done that tremendously. And we just hired a new executive director. He started August 4th. But in our job description, we talked about equity, inclusion, all those kinds of things. And the symphony itself, the members, were very insistent that we talk about outreach and outreach not just to kids, but to the community at large. So we've done some very interesting things. One of the things that we've done, which I'm very proud of, is we've invited gentlemen from the Reentry Center. The Reentry Center here in South Bend is a facility run by the Department of Corrections. And these are guys who are coming out of prison and will be going back into society within 2 years. So we give them 15 tickets for every concert. And most of these guys had never been to a symphony, never been to a performance hall. Some of them have been in prison 20, 30 years. And they come, they love it. And they come every year. They come every concert. So every concert we have, whether it's Christmas pops or whatever, they're in the audience. And
That is
we're
absolutely,
not,
it's so critically important and helping to lead the orchestra in this deeper engagement with the community, so critically important. And obviously just, the orchestra is doing such such great work.
Yeah.
And so this kind of even goes to and kind of talking about that and some of the roles and exposing with repertoire. But it also gets to sometimes we may not even know about the history of musicians, of people of color in classical music. And so this delves into a key project that you are really responsible for, which is the Invisible Player documentary. Can you tell us about that?
The documentary is about a woman named Rosemary Sanders, who in 1940 became the first African American player in the South Bend Symphony. She played for 15 years in the symphony, the last seat in the second violin section, but they never put her name in the program. She was never allowed to be photographed with the symphony. She was always off to the side, but she played. And she came to the South Bend from Chicago at age 5 because she had tuberculosis. And her aunt worked for one of the richest families in town, the Oliver family, Oliver Cunningham family at that time. And when and her aunt was the head of the household. And so when she got out of the sanatorium here in South Bend, she came to live with her aunt, who did adopted her, and got exposed to music and violin and piano and all that. And she went to school here. She graduated. She went to 2 high schools, Central for 3 years, and then transferred to Riley, where she was the only Black student at Riley High School in 1938, 39 when she graduated. But had talent to where she went to the Sherwood School of Music in Chicago on the train with her mother, which was segregated at the time, on Saturdays for lessons. Her teacher was a guy named Harold Lamb, who was affiliated with the Sherwood School of Music. She auditioned in 1940 and got in. My assumption is because her mother's employer was one of the richest women in town, and they were all part of the symphony board's things together.
Mm-hmm.
They let her play, but she was talented.
Mm-hmm.
And those 15 years she played, but never had a chance to move up, was never recognized. And so I found out about her by accident. There was an article in the basement of the symphony office in a file cabinet when she turned 93 about her. And our education director gave me the article, just a small article. But you know me, I read it and thought there's something missing. And so I used Facebook to find her daughter and her son. And her daughter lives in Vegas, her son lives in Alabama. And her daughter, Helen, has saved all this material on her articles and stuff. And so I began to piece together her history. And as I looked at this history, Aaron, the question came to my mind, well, when were the first African Americans in symphony orchestras? And if you Google it, James Burrell comes up, who just recently passed at 103 in Denver. Well, his dates were 1949. She was 1940, but nobody knew she existed. So I began to look at what we call the Big Five, which was Boston, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Chicago, and New York, to see when they got their first African American players. The first one was New York, but the last orchestra to get an African American player was Chicago, where I grew up. And the year was 2002. And I was in shock because I grew up in the city and remember going to the symphony. We sang with the symphony in college, uh, but they never had an African American player until 2002, and he's still the only African American player in the symphony. His name is Taga Larson, plays trumpet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
And
such what's amazing and part of what you unearthed is, that there is this history. And even though literally it was forced to, sometimes we were almost forced to be invisible,
mm,
and being able to tell this story. And so also for the documentary, for those in our audience, right, who obviously want to learn more about this, how can they learn more? How will they be able to see it?
right now we have an 11-minute trailer. It's at invisibleplayer.org is the website, or you can go to southbendsymphony.org and there's a page there for her as well. We're raising funds, obviously, to help finish the documentary. And so there's a page that shows interviews. You're in the documentary trailer, of course, because I interviewed you a couple years ago. with some very famous quotes, and a great shirt, by the way. And so they can go to that website. They can see interviews that we've done with Helen. Her name is Helen Binion, who's a daughter. We've done interviews all over the country. I've interviewed 33 uh, people about things as the audition process for symphonies, the union
Oh,
roles of symphonies. Uh,
it's it's
at the end of
just
symphony, how you feel invisible.
absolutely, it's such an extraordinary story. I was honored that you even wanted to, interview me and hear some of my thoughts, which I was very excited and honored to be able to participate. I encourage everyone in our audience to be able to check it out and learn more about it, and of course potentially help support so it can be completed and people all around the world can really immerse themselves in what is an amazing, amazing story. So, unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I always like to ask of all of my guests this work that you're doing on the documentary, your role as board chair. There has to be some days where it seems like there are challenges that might be almost insurmountable. And I'm always curious, as a leader and someone in these leadership roles, is there any key things you do? Do you have any mechanisms or approaches that you have that help you get past those days of great challenge?
Prayer, lots of prayer. I'm a man of faith, and so I believe that God's opened up these doors. There's no reason for me to have discovered Rosemary, except that it was given to me. And then if I had not come to South Bend in 2008 as the dean, I would have never gotten this opportunity. So I'm very grateful, and I think that when things get tough, that's where I go. I go to my inner self, and I pray about it, and miraculously, God opens doors, and as we all know, and there. So that helps keep me grounded, along with the fact that there are people like you who support what I'm doing and give me encouragement. So if people want to, we also have a Facebook page too. It's the Visible Player, the Rosemary Sanders story, which will take you to the same stuff. So that or the website. But I think it's for me, it is a labor of love, but it's also something I need to do. And so it's telling the story of so many African Americans that were not acknowledged, and we have to do that more and more. It's about
Absolutely.
legacy. It's about legacy.
Absolutely. So, so true. And it's such incredibly important work. Marvin Curtis, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you.